and we'll see you then. Thanks.
This has been a Now Media Networks feature presentation. All rights reserved.
Investing in real estate doesn't have to be a pipe dream. But how do you find, analyze, renovate, finance investment properties without getting ripped off? My name is Andrew Glisson. In 4 short years, me and my team built a portfolio of 200 rental properties in multiple cities as a hobby while working full-time. We took all of that experience and built a mentorship program called the Victory Strategy to unlock every step of investing in real estate. If that sounds like the opportunity you've been waiting for, look us up at thevictorystrategy.com.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Legal Talk. I am your hostess, Alina Gonzalez-Dockery, attorney and owner of Life Law Planning here in Florida. And I am honored and privileged to be joined by Abigail Stolf. She is the owner, founder, and family law experienced lawyer for Jersey Coast Family Law. I love that we're getting the eastern coastlines aligned. And I hope you don't mind me calling you Abby. I prefer a little bit more informality. But Abby, I want to thank you so much for joining me, especially on a topic that is near and dear to my heart as well, being a family law attorney. But I would love for my viewers and your audience to get to know a little bit more about yourself. So I'm going to give you some space to introduce yourself.
Hi, thank you so much. And thank you for having me. It was really great talking to you prior to the airing. My name is Abigail Stolf. I've been practicing family law for, I'm going to say over 20 years because I'm not going to date myself. But before practicing family, I worked a judicial clerkship here in Ocean County, New Jersey. And now I have a statewide practice where I focus on family law. And I'm really clear to say family law because I don't believe personally that family law is all negative. I think that it is our job as family law attorneys to foster the next phase of the family and hopefully bring some unity together so that what was a hard time can prove to be an easy transition and a bright future. Just a quick backstory. My parents were divorced and we spent every holiday as a family, the 5 of us, every holiday. We did not split time. We did not share time. And they would work together to make sure that we were all in one place for those special occasions. So that's really my goal and my job, in my opinion, with my clients.
You know, I love that because you touched on something that really needs to be repeated and shouted from the rooftops. Family law does not need to be this acrimonious, I'm going to date myself saying like Kramer versus Kramer type of fight or what you see on TV. Because the reality is what you see on TV is not what really is the vast majority of our cases. And also, I love that you stated how it's that co-parenting, the importance that a family unit, regardless if if mom and dad are living together or husband and wife or however you want to define it, it really is that no matter what, you are a family unit. You're always tied thanks to these blessings that are these children. And so, Abby, I know we were talking a little bit before we jumped on screen to get to know each other. And in your experience, and I like how you say 20 plus, because I've been a little bit over 20 plus years in this family law realm. How are you finding the nuclear family? Is it that traditional, what we see back in the 80s, 90s, the husband, wife, kids, or are you starting to see a more modern family as majority of your clients?
That's a great question. That's a great question because I really, in my personal opinion, I view families as a multitude of different definitions. So you have the traditional husband, wife, 2.5 children. That's a family. Then you have the husband, stepmom, wife, stepdad, 3 connected children, and then some step siblings or half siblings, right? That's also a family. And then we have the boyfriend, girlfriend, and I'm going to say that this category applies mainly, in my view, to millennials and or the second time arounders, right? I consider myself a second time arounder, so we'll all know what that means. And those are the people who cohabitate. Those are the people who make a choice not to engage in a marriage tradition, the first one I described, for whatever their personal reason, but really still want to have that connection of family and or have children together and want to continue to foster that family dynamic without necessarily the bonds of matrimony, as some might say. So I think that what is a family today is not as cookie cutter as we saw on, the Cleaver family.
Now we're really pulling out some interesting shows. Well, I loved how you called that the second rounder, because I raised my hand when you were describing that, because I am divorced. I am cohabitating with my boyfriend. I have what I consider my stepson living with us. So it's always fun times. And I think that's really important for the audience to know that it's not about the cookie cutter family. There's always the uniqueness, and we actually not only celebrate the uniqueness of the families, but we want to foster what is in the best interest of all members of that family. And I know when I'm speaking with my family law clients, one of the first things I tell them is that no matter that the parents are no longer getting along as well as, in a perfect world we would like, they are all forever tied because of these children. And I can only speak to Florida. Like, Florida now has codified 50-50 time sharing. Even though I'm in a district that has been doing it for some time. And I've been finding families are struggling or having challenge with that. And I'm just curious, because I'm always curious how other states go about it. What's going on in New Jersey with like time sharing? Because we don't use visitation anymore. It's about the family unit and the time.
Right. So our statute has not changed. It's always really provided for equal access for the child to the parents. But our new set of rationale, judges, empirical data that is flowing into the court system is saying, we're going to try this 50-50 approach. And so we're seeing a lot of 50-50. What that means to a given family may be different. Here's where I think that where the struggles are in finding a 50-50 arrangement. We all have to remember that parenting time is time to parent. So where I think a lot of struggles come in is when the non-dominant parent, when the household was together, right? If you were the non-dominant parent and the other person always took the role of packing lunches and picking up from school and dropping off to school, etc., now that becomes your job if you're looking for 50-50. It's not, well, you can still do all those jobs, and I'm going to take every night from 6 to 8 p.m. or 6 to 6 the next morning. So there is some struggle with defining what 50-50 is. So I think when people assert a claim to 50-50, they have to understand that that is time to parent. So you will be the person making lunches and driving kids. My daughter was a cheerleader. I don't even know how many hours. I ultimately put weights in my car because I figured the only time I could work out was while I was sitting outside of gymnastics or cheer, whatever. And I would be in the parking lot doing squats. So that is parenting, though. That's what parenting is. So I think that understanding what you're asking for is critical. And as lawyers, explaining to our clients what it means is a key function to our job. I always tell my clients, my job is not to assert your facts because you can do that without me. My job is to apply your facts to the law. So I need something that's going to make sense. And when you're talking about parenting time, it's really important that parents want to parent.
And I agree. I couldn't agree even more, because what I have been finding in my experience is that we have now I have some clients that they are phenomenal at co-parenting, sharing time, and very much like your family, what you described your family, holidays together, vacations. In fact, I have, and it's a good friend of mine, her current husband and former husband are best friends now. I mean, but that's the exception, not necessarily the rule. And that's where I find that we're now getting into a position, or the courts are in a position of micromanaging these families. Like, enforcing that 50-50 timeshare. But it is, I love how you put it though. It is parenting time. It is all of it. And it doesn't stop. And that's what I remind my clients. It doesn't end at 18 or graduation from high school either. You know?
No, I think I spend more time parenting my son who's in college now and my daughter who's a senior in high school now than I did when they were, younger, because when they're younger, they don't have an opinion or a voice. But, now, my God, do they have opinions? So, and they're not always good ones.
My heart goes out to you. I put one through college, and that was, he meandered. Boy, did he meander, but he found his footing, then he meandered again. So it's always fun. But now, I'm not going to say his age because then, people will look at me going, what? But even now, it's funny because he'll give me the call and I'm like, oh, okay. But it doesn't stop. And that's the beauty of being a family too, because it goes beyond that high school graduation or 18. And, but it goes to the weddings, the college graduations and celebrations of grandchildren. Yes. And I think that's at least a goal always is of mine, is that having that and fostering that understanding among the parents that you guys, this is a forever deal. Well, it's about the kids. I always I don't care if the kids are in the 20s, if they're getting divorced, if you're getting divorced or separating and such. So I'm just curious, when you have let's just say, I'm going to, I guess maybe be a little bit stereotypical. Mom comes to you and says, I am no longer able. And this will be after, keep this in mind because we're going to take a quick commercial break. But when mom comes to you and says, it's not working out, we have to split up. And this was always, traditionally, I stayed at home. I was taking care of the kids. I may have had a little job here or there. How do you counsel someone to prepare themselves for their next chapter? So I want to have you keeping that in mind. And we're going to take a quick commercial break and we're going to be right back with Abby. And I have to say, I'm already wanting to take notes, so I hope you all are all enjoying this. Tune right back in.
Are you nearly maxed out on your credit cards? It doesn't matter if you're using your credit cards for fun or to survive. At the end of the month, your statements come in, and you can either pay them or you can't. If you can't, late fees and interest rates get tacked on. And now you're struggling just to make the minimum payment due. Do you feel trapped? Am I talking to you? Good, because I personally researched some companies that can help you. They may be able to reduce your credit card balances by 50% and stop the late fees. If you qualify, please call our special debt hotline number right now for a complimentary free 5-minute consultation. Deal with your credit card problem now before it gets much worse and put more money back in your pocket. Trust me, I've been there too. Call right now.
Call 855-993-2096 right now. That's 855-993-2096.
What if you could make a free phone call and reduce your car payment by as much as $83 a month? Right now, you could be paying as high as 20% interest. Your new interest rate could be reduced to as low as 2.48%. You can refinance any existing car loan or leased car and save money every month. Take 5 minutes of your time right now. Make this free phone call and learn how to save hundreds of dollars a year by refinancing your existing car loan.
These are the top 3 questions I get from people about investing in real estate. How much money do I need to get to the next level? How do I find good properties to invest in? Can I even make money in this business when interest rates are so high? I answer these questions and many more in my online course, SFR University, where I show you the strategy that I used to build a multi-million-dollar real estate business in 4 years from scratch. Whether you're just starting out or someone who's looking to scale, this course will have something for you. Join us at sfruniversity.com. See you in the course.
Do you have diabetes? If you have insurance, you may qualify for a new continuous glucose monitor. With a CGM, you can continuously track your levels and trends, spend more time in range, significantly lower your A1C, and share important data with loved ones and caregivers. Most importantly, A CGM eliminates the one thing most people with diabetes hate: painful finger sticks. Take charge of your health. Order your new continuous glucose monitor today. If you use insulin and have seen your diabetes care provider within the last 6 months, you may qualify for a CGM today. We'll do all the insurance paperwork and deliver your new CGM at little or no out-of-pocket cost to you. Medicare and most insurances cover continuous glucose monitors, so don't wait. Have your insurance handy and call the CGM Health Hotline now.
Welcome back to another episode of Legal Talk. And we just coming back from break, speaking to Abigail Stolf, attorney, family law expert of good considerable experience with Jersey Coast family law. And as we left, prior to the commercial break, we were talking about how you would counsel a client, a female client coming into you in that she is facing her next phase where she has primarily been the home caretaker, stay at home mom. So I'm sure this is still something that comes up often.
It absolutely is. And I think it is really difficult for women who are transitioning from a stay-at-home role into what's going to be their next phase, especially depending on the age of the children. So there's a few points that I ask women, and I do ask men this as well, but in this context, we're talking about a woman. First and foremost, I think she needs therapy. I think it's a big transition to go from being the person who's making all the decisions to the person who has to talk about the decisions. And the kids also are coming to you saying, well, can I do this and can I do that? And now you don't just have that autonomous decision-making power. So I think therapy is one really important piece of this. The next is I ask them, well, and it sounds very cynical, right? What do you want to be when you grow up? Now we are in a new phase. What do you want to do? Because now the world is your oyster. What is it? Do you want to go back to the career you had? Do you want to go into the location where maybe you got educated but never started a career? Or do you want to go a whole new path now that you've lived a little bit of life and you want to do something totally different? So I think that getting a person engaged in and excited about what's in front of them takes away the sting of what they're leaving behind. So I think when you can refocus the person, it also helps to refocus the family. And I do think children look to their parents, and I'm talking male and female children, look to their primary parent, in this case, mother, as a strong influencer in what they choose to do with their lives. So if we as practitioners foster this theory of all your loss and, oh my gosh, and what are we going to do? We're now sending that to the next generation. And I really don't think that's our job. I think our job is to empower children. And the truth is, children are empowered by watching their family and watching their parents or whoever is their parental figure.
And I love that. It is about the empowerment. It's an empowerment of the client, but also because the client is the foundation for that family. And thank you for bringing in, yes, talking about men, because we do have a lot of guys out there that are also going to be doing some transitions. And it is a new chapter. It is, what do you want to do with growing up? I'm still trying to figure out what I want to do with because every new chapter is it's a new opportunity. At least that's how I like to frame it. Yes, it's difficult not to get bogged down in the negative and how I'm hurt and what I'm going to do. But it's like, okay, let's work on this. Let's just brainstorm on what is it that you want to do. I love that you even put in how, like, what would, if they want to resurrect their career or even engage in a career after education and stuff, because that is an important self-reliance, and I think for self-esteem. And I'm curious because obviously, family law, we tend to think of, or, young children, time sharing, child support, but there's a lot of other issues that are involved in not just dealing with the co-parenting issue, but there is also the support, especially say older. I don't know if you saw this. There was an article about, and they're talking about I personally don't agree with this. The gray divorce, the
Oh,
older
yes.
couples that are getting divorced for whatever reason, 30 plus years of marriage, um, they're empty nesters, things like that. How do you counsel someone that is in a latter phase of family life? Let's put it that way, that come to you and say, this isn't working out.
So when I do meet with someone who's at that next at the latter stage, the children are grown, maybe their children are out of the house totally, or maybe they're in college and one foot in, one foot out. I still approach it in a similar fashion, although the issue may not be so much what do you want your career to look like, but what do you want your life to look like? So if I'm meeting with someone who has never worked, and I'll use a family member as an example, she's a young 50, but she has never had a job. So suggesting to go back to school and get a 6-year degree and start at 56, like that's going to somehow make or break her life, that's really not right. With someone like her, I might say, well, you should go back to school if that's what you want to do. And you should find a career if that's what you want to do. But it can also be volunteering, because a lot of stay-at-home moms who went through the whole phase are big into volunteer work and that kind of community. So it's really about finding what's going to make them happy, because I would hate to get a person divorced, especially a gray divorce, so that I can leave someone sitting at home with no direction. That's not what I want to do. So I think it's important, whether it's, they love to travel, we'll do a travel club. I had one woman who her child was really good with the computer. So she started to travel, and then she started to do a travel blog.
Wow.
Now, who would have thought? But that was her passion. So she went with it. So good for her.
In speaking with you, there's one thought that keeps recurring is, not only are you advising them on the law, but you are also kind of coaching in a way, in like assisting them in going, hey, it's not about the here and it's not just the here and now or what happened in the past. We got to look forward. Where do you want to be in the future? So I like how you bring in that counseling aspect, because what many people may not realize is lawyers, yes, we're supposed to, be barracudas or tigresses or however you want to describe us, but we're really counselors first and foremost in assisting people in that next phase, whether it's family law or estate planning or business or what have you. Now, and I liked how you brought in the community aspect, because I know you are very involved in your community as well. And I think it's great for the viewers to know, and it humanizes us lawyers that we're not just these barracudas that you bring out when needed. So what community involvement do you have and what impact has that had on your personal practice, if you will?
Well, I think it is really important for members of my community to see me giving back to my community. And I do that in a variety of ways. So I participate in a lot of big campaigns through radio stations and nonprofits. Share the Joy is coming up, so we're doing that now, which is a big hunger and clothing drive. So I will literally go to the grocery store with 6 shopping carts and fill them up. I'm the person who's out there doing the grocery shopping, and bring it to the food truck. My passion, though, is the one that I do with the animal shelter. That's where I'm really because it really, how can you not just love an animal? Any kind of animal, there's something you love, right? So I do a lot of work with the animal shelter. My children are involved with the animal shelter. So it's nice because it's really a family goal with that one. But we as a firm, and I as a person, think it is important for those who can to do. And then for those who can't and who need help, when they can, they also will do. So I think that's how you keep community moving forward.
And I do. I think that is, I applaud you for that, especially as a firm going forward, what community and the touch points. Because what I have found in I've had an interesting path, even legally, but in my legal career, and my community involvement has always advanced me, whether it's my personal career, but also it allowed me an extra dimension, if you will, because I was able to get involved with some great organizations. And yes, animals are so adorable too. So and that's something actually. How do you deal with that little custody battle when it comes over to Fluffy or the dog
that one is tough. I have had some cases where we have fought harder over the animals than we have over the children, and that is true. So I think it's easy if there's children, right? If both parents want also to have time with the animals with the children, it's the same transition piece point. If there's no children and the fur is the baby, right? This is our fur baby, and a lot of people. Listen, I have 4 dogs, so I'm a big fur baby person. It becomes harder. You are doing a shared time arrangement of some sort. I do, in those cases, say to my clients, to the point we made before, we need to look forward 5 years. I always say to my clients, look forward 5 years. Where are we in 5 years? Especially if they're young. So yes, we have this fur baby, but in 5 years, you're going to be with a new person. You might have a family. You might have a baby at that point. You could be in a different state. What do we realistically want to do here? And I think sometimes that brings some clarity out of the fight. And I think that oftentimes allows people to create an arrangement where one person has the fur baby, and the other person is working collectively and cooperatively so they both enjoy time.
Okay, I am stealing that. Let's look 5 years ahead.
I do that all the time.
I am so stealing that. I can't believe this.
I say that to literally everybody.
This is the first time, and when I tell you 25 plus years, okay. I'm like, I am so stealing that because it's true, because I went through my own divorce, so I get it now. Before I didn't quite empathize as well as someone going through that. You get so entrenched and blinded by just what is going on in that fear and there's a lot in anger and mourning of that relationship passing. So I love that 5 year. We're going to take a quick commercial break, and then we're going to ask Abby to go into the traditional family that is today, which is our modern family, those people that are not necessarily legally married, but have a beautiful family. Tune right back in.
Do you have a car sitting around you want to get rid of? Well, here's a great idea. Donate your car now to help local veterans in your area. Yes, just make one fast call to the Veteran Car Donation Program. Within a few days, we'll come and remove your car for free. You can donate any car in any condition. We'll use our vast network to sell it. The proceeds raised go to help local veterans and their families. And you get a tax deduction. And all you need to do is make this free call. Clean your yard up, get rid of an old car, and help the vets. We make it easy. Make this free call now. Book your fast and easy pickup. Call the Veteran Car Donation Program now.
If you're on supplemental oxygen, heavy and awkward tanks can be a burden. Now, you can leave home and leave the tanks behind with Inogen, portable oxygen therapy that moves with you.
With my Inogen, now I'm able to do the things that I've always loved. I just press the button here, and there's my oxygen.
Inogen systems are so small and light, you're free to leave the house without the hassles of an oxygen tank.
I could play golf again. I could go grocery shopping. I'm free again.
With the Inogen, I can handle my own oxygen. I can carry my own oxygen. I go anywhere with this. Look how small it is.
And right now, you can try an Inogen portable oxygen system for 30 days risk-free. Call us right now. If you qualify, we'll send you an Inogen system to use for 30 days risk-free. Your insurance may even cover your new Inogen system.
If you're on oxygen, you need to be using an Inogen.
Call 800-367-1753. That's 800-367-1753.
How would you like to go on a 5-star vacation for just $99? We're talking about the quality of a Westgate resort for $99. Not for one night, but for 3 fantastic nights at one of their luxurious destinations across the United States. And you'll even get a free $100 Visa gift card just for making a reservation. We've got some of the choicest destinations that you'll love in the United States that you can choose from for just $99 for a 3-night stay. Take your family, take a special loved one, but get away. Go on vacation with Westgate Resorts. Call now to make a reservation for just $99, and you get a free $100 Visa gift card. Call Westgate right now and book your vacation. Here's the number.
Call 877-930-3491. That's 877-930-3491. Again, 877-930-3491.
Okay, welcome back to Legal Talk. I am speaking with Abigail Stolf, or Abby as I've been calling her. And we've been having a great conversation about all things family law, because family law is not just divorces, it's not just the child support. It really is the next chapter, looking forward, dealing with what is the current situation, but really going forward. And one of the things that I have been finding, and we've been talking about a little bit, is that traditional husband, wife, 2.5 kids, white picket fence is not necessarily the norm nowadays. We have what I coin as the modern family, the family that is, say, like Goldie Hawn and Kurt Russell. They live together, have beautiful families, but never marry. How do you, when you have a couple, say you have a couple that comes to you and say, we're not getting married. We own a house together. We have children. We want to do investments and such. How do you counsel that modern couple or modern family in preparing themselves for any circumstances that may arise in the future?
That's a great question, because that is definitely more prevalent now than we have seen, really in the last 20, 30 years, right? This is all kind of a new phase where we're going. So when I do talk to, whether it's a young couple or a second time arounder, what I like to talk about is, what is the expectation and what are the challenges? And what are the things that we need to hit that you two maybe have not been able to hit? So it's very simple to say, oh, we decided to buy a house together. That's great. How are we dealing with the deed? How are we dealing with the disproportionate down payment? How are we dealing with what happens if we need to sell the house? Who's deciding if we sell the house? Take it a little further. We have a lot of millennial couples now who want that traditional family, the trad wife trend, the stay-at-home trend, but they don't want to get married. Well, then they don't get alimony. So how are we dealing with the loss of career, the loss of income opportunity, growth and advancement if you're staying at home? Because now in 20 years, 15 years, 10 years, you're not going to get alimony. And in many states, you're also not going to get palimony without a written agreement. So this would be the writing that would say, well, if we're going to have children, what's the plan? And who's going to take on what responsibility? And if one of us loses our job, what's the plan? And who's going to take on what responsibility? Because for people like Goldie Hawn and Kurt Russell, there's plenty to go around. We all assume, right? That's our view, at least from the outside in. But in a millennial family who's just starting out at 28, 29, 30, 31, they're not. They're just starting out. So everything is light. The retirement account's light, savings account light. We need to be planning for what happens in those, what we know to be life adventures, what we know to be life realities, because we've all experienced one of those hurdles at some point. Well, they don't really know what to do or expect with that. And what we need to do is set them up for success, even if they're choosing not to get married. And in most of the states, there's no success if you choose not to get married. So we need to figure out how to make that happen by agreement, while everyone is still working towards the common goal. So I myself have been doing a lot of marketing and advertising and education. I speak about this a lot. I was at a wedding event the other week, and I was talking about cohabitation agreements, and I'm like, forget prenups. This is for the people who are choosing not to get married. So, because some people in our area, particularly, we have an Orthodox community. Many Orthodox people do not get married in the secular world. So the alimony laws don't apply, the equitable distribution laws don't apply because it's a religious marriage only. So these are the realities, at least where I'm practicing, and I practice within the Orthodox community. Now, they have a tradition that goes way farther than anything we've done that addresses this in their premarital agreements. But that's kind of the adoption, is this cohabitation agreement. And I think that that is really where family law and estate law is going, because, you practice estate law. I know of estate law. I don't necessarily make it a primary practice, but there are no benefits to those who are your cohabitant.
Oh no, trust me, I'm, divorced. I'm a second, I guess what you call a second termer, living with my boyfriend. And I actually raised this to him the other day because we discussed it, and he's a widower. So it's like, that always interesting too. For those of you, a little probably too much personal information, but it's an interesting point in that I tell him, I have no protections whatsoever via the law. What I'm like, if something were to happen to you right now, your son can come in and say, hit the road, Jack, and, in the stage that I am of my adventure of a life, I want those assurances. So the cohabitation agreement, because it's just like you said, the prenuptial agreement is great, which I have been finding more younger couples have been wanting those. And it's a great way of defining what your rights are. And think that the cohabitation, and now I'm going to be bringing this up to him again, because I do want, what happens, say you're a second termer, you have to consider what happens if you become disabled,
right?
Or something happens to your business, or, we all lived through that great recession when the bubble burst and such. But so and I love how you massage it. So in these cohabitation agreements, because I am taking notes for personal use, I'm telling you, Abby,
Well, hopefully this is informative to everyone. So.
I hope so too. I'm one of those that if it's informative to me, people, you should be writing down notes. I'm a note taker. I actually have my notepad right here too. But when you're working with someone in this cohabitation agreement, and they are now, let's just say it's a second termer, as you put it, somebody who's like, okay, we've been there. We don't want to get married, but we are commingling. We are putting together our assets or buying new assets together. How would you go about structuring this type of understanding, even for future support, if something were to happen within that relationship?
Yeah, so that's a great question, because that is something we see a lot in second termers. The first go around, you are pretty much on equal footing as far as what your assets are that you're bringing into the relationship. The second timers, not so much. There is some disproportionality to, I don't know if that's a word, but we're going to make it one, disproportionality to what they're bringing to the table. So what I like to do is I like to ask first, do we have children that are not in common that we still want to care for? Take what you've explained to your family. You may say, well, my stepson is basically, in my view, my son, and therefore anything I have, he's going to have. That makes it a little easier, right? Now we can say it doesn't matter who put what in, because you guys are really melding your whole pot, and that's a little bit easier. So we don't have to necessarily address deed allocations and percentages and what goes back to one person or another. But in those cases where, let's say you didn't have that feeling and your boyfriend came in with a child and you came in with a different child, and he's putting 500,000 into your 1.5 home and you're putting 100,000 into your 1.5 home, and then you're going to mortgage the rest. Well, that's very disproportionate when you're talking about the children. right? If something were to happen to the two of you, first and foremost is, does his son get the benefit of the 500,000, or does your daughter get the benefit of the 100,000, or are we going to pretend that didn't exist? So a lot of times what I'll say is in these agreements that the deed has to reflect the investment. So we're not going to do joint with right of survivorship. We're going to do joint in common at, in this case, man at, 50% and wife at, or whatever, the percent, 90 and 10, whatever the percentages come out to, right? So we would do it that way. Another way to handle that is we can say, well, we're going to do a 90-10 deed, but we don't want Alina moving in her 80s because that's not right. So we might build into a cohabitation agreement a life term, not a life estate. We all know that there's some issues with that. So we'd build in a life term. And so that we can't get kicked out by the kids. But then we might say, well, how's she going to pay for it? We got another issue there. And we can't get life insurance because it's too late for life insurance. It's too cost prohibitive. So we might build in a trust that's to be funded by the child of the deceased, so that if something were to happen, that child would get the money back. It wouldn't automatically revert to the state. So there's a lot of, when you're talking about second time arounders, we do have to deal a lot with estate attorneys as well, because we want to make sure that our language is going to pass muster. And we want to make sure that our estate planning for the purposes of trusts, et cetera, is going to meet our intention. So in that context, a cohabitation agreement needs to be very thoughtful. It is not a quick, we're in love, sparkles and unicorns agreement. It's a, what are we doing for real with our lives and our money and our families?
I'm sorry, I'm cracking up. Okay, nothing against unicorns and sparkles. We all love them. No, but I understand, and it is. And I think that it is so important to educate and empower our clients. And that right there, I mean, just that little bit of explanation really, truly does empower, but it also stabilizes the family, because what I call, that blended family, which is more and more the percentage of families, it is so important to provide that foundation for the couple and the family, but also to ensure what they have built, not only together, but apart, benefits the children as well. And we're going to take a quick commercial break. I am going to come back with Abby, who is just off the charts, providing such amazing, amazing information. For those of you who really want to get in contact with Abigail Stolf, she is the owner of JerseyCoastFamilyLaw.com. Definitely we're going to be providing her information so that you can get to her in New Jersey, so you can plan out what is in the best interest, not only for you in your next chapter, but your family. But we have one more segment with this amazing, empowering attorney. So tune back in right after this.
Investing in real estate doesn't have to be a pipe dream, but how do you find, analyze, renovate, finance investment properties without getting ripped off? My name's Andrew Glisson. In 4 short years, me and my team built a portfolio of 200 rental properties in multiple cities as a hobby while working full-time. We took all of that experience and built a mentorship program called the Victory Strategy to unlock every step of investing in real estate. If that sounds like the opportunity you've been waiting for, look us up at thevictorystrategy.com.
Are you nearly maxed out on your credit cards? It doesn't matter if you're using your credit cards for fun or to survive. At the end of the month, your statements come in, and you can either pay them or you can't. If you can't, late fees and interest rates get tacked on. And now you're struggling just to make the minimum payment due. Do you feel trapped? Am I talking to you? Good, because I personally researched some companies that can help you. They may be able to reduce your credit card balances by 50% and stop the late fees. If you qualify, please call our special debt hotline number right now for a complimentary free 5-minute consultation. Deal with your credit card problem now before it gets much worse and put more money back in your pocket. Trust me, I've been there too. Call right now.
Call 855-993-2096 right now. That's 855 993 2096.
Do you have a car sitting around you want to get rid of? Well, here's a great idea. Donate your car now to help local veterans in your area. Yes, just make one fast call to the Veteran Car Donation Program. Within a few days, we'll come and remove your car for free. You can donate any car in any condition. We'll use our vast network to sell it. The proceeds raised go to help local veterans and their families. And you get a tax deduction. And all you need to do is make this free call. Clean your yard up, get rid of an old car, and help the vets. We make it easy. Make this free call now. Book your fast and easy pickup. Call the Veteran Car Donation Program now.
If you're on supplemental oxygen, heavy and awkward tanks can be a burden. Now you can leave home and leave the tanks behind with Inogen, portable oxygen therapy that moves with you.
With my Inogen, now I'm able to do the things that I've always loved. I just press the button here, and there's my oxygen.
Inogen systems are so small and light, you're free to leave the house without the hassles of an oxygen tank.
I could play golf again. I could go grocery shopping. I'm free again.
With the Inogen, I can handle my own oxygen. I can carry my own oxygen. I go anywhere with this. Look how small it is.
And right now, you can try an Inogen portable oxygen system for 30 days risk-free. Call us right now. If you qualify, we'll send you an Inogen system to use for 30 days risk-free. Your insurance may even cover your new Inogen system.
If you're on oxygen, you need to be using an Inogen.
Call 800 367 1753. That's 800 367 1753.
Welcome back. I am with Abigail Stolf, owner and attorney, family law expert with Jersey Coast Family Law. And as we stated, if you're in the New Jersey area of the whole state, contact Abby. She is amazing. She can help you with not only the next chapter as you are going through a family law matter that may include litigation, or even just establishing your next steps and providing a strong foundation for your new family through agreements and such. Now, Abby, you mentioned something in the last segment, and being in Southwest Florida, I do not have this experience. So, and I love education. So you mentioned that you deal with a lot of Orthodox families, and this would be the Orthodox Jewish marriages and such. Can you explain to those of us that, you know, there's many in this audience that are looking to you going, well, I'm about to get married. How should I set myself up, even though this is a very highly religious ceremony, to also make sure that it is legally binding as well?
So I think that the Orthodox Jewish community by us is in Lakewood, and it is, I believe, the second largest Orthodox community in the world, second only, I believe, to Israel. So we have a very dense population of Orthodox individuals. And I am personally very grateful that I get to work within the community, because the tradition it runs very deep. And the knowledge is amazing. But also I have found that working within the community with the rabbis, they're also very open to how they can expand their information and their base in incorporating some of the secular theories while still maintaining the tradition that's set forth in their documents and in their agreements. So when a religious individual is seeking marriage, they sign an agreement prior to getting married, and that's part of the religious tradition. And that agreement typically incorporates the religious and biblical obligations of man and woman. So when I'm working with a religious person who has not married in the secular world, meaning a legal marriage within the state, I'm bound by that. I have to look at that document and say, well, what did you agree to? And how did you agree to do it? And what law are we using? Which, by the way, is always biblical law. So that's what we do. And we do that. However, it would be great if we could begin to have those religious documents viewed in line with what is secular tradition, because a lot of those religious expectations don't really meet the real world demand. So I would suggest that if you are within a religious community and you are someone who in your community, because there's more than just Jewish tradition, right? There's other traditions where you sign pre-agreements. Get to know what your pre-agreement says before you sit down on that very wonderful day to sign it, and find out from your individual rabbi or religious leader or Towen, what can I change? How can I modernize this a little bit? How can I meet the expectations that we have talked about as being what our family is going to look like? Because I don't think that there's necessarily a prohibition on expanding. What I believe is there is a prohibition on eliminating religious tradition. And I think those are two very different requests, right? As a woman, you cannot go and say, I would like to strike any obligation to have children. That's probably not going to work. But you can ask for other considerations and conditions depending on the number of children you have within a certain time frame, and how can my life look differently, still within the religious expectations.
It is so educational, but also important, especially with the community that you do have. I mean, the second largest population for Jewish population outside of Israel. This is something that your listeners would like to learn more of and be able to then ask for your assistance. And it does go beyond just what is traditionally Orthodox Jewish tradition and such, but you do see that in many like Greek Orthodox, Roman Catholic, which I'm Roman Catholic, what those expectations. And it goes into also, we did talk briefly about the cohabitation agreements, setting yourself up for success in your marriage through a prenuptial agreement, even if it's not. And I would love to hear how you would instruct, let's just say, whether it's a young couple, but I would say more time is that second term person that maybe they decided that, you know what, we found love, we want to be married, we're traditional. So how do you counsel someone through that process of prenuptial agreements in hopes of having a long established until death do us part marriage?
So yeah, the marriage is bliss people. So the marriage is bliss people are the ones who come in and they have established their wealth base, they have established their life, they have established their community. Most times they've established their extended family, meaning that they already have children from a prior relationship. And we could be dealing with a person who lost a spouse, or we could be dealing with a divorcee, or we could be dealing with a first-time marriage, although that's not as common, I don't think. When I'm dealing with a person who's doing it again, and I'm looking at a prenuptial agreement, I'm looking again at this issue of who and what are we leaving things to going forward. So that estate planning aspect, we do have to look at that. And we're looking at how am I going to take care of this person? Should I need to leave a life term to them in the assets? But I'm also looking at that point, not so much in alimony, because you would phase out of alimony at a certain age, but maybe in lump sum distribution at various points in time. So if I'm working with a family who maybe and I'm going to stereotype here, maybe the husband is in a career, he's about to receive a buyout package that's going to total, 2.5 in cash and stocks. And the wife was a mom and she went back to her career, but her primary career was being a mom. So she might have, $300,000 in an IRA. Well, in that case, I know I'm not going to have alimony because we already know intended husband's leaving his job. That's part of the plan. What I might do, however, is say, well, if they stay married for 10 years, we're going to give intended wife $150,000. So now she went from having 500 to 650. If they're married for this amount of time, we're going to move this much more over, so that we're moving money over to intended wife in place of alimony. Because the reality is that when you do start living together, you do develop a certain lifestyle, and that lifestyle does change, but shouldn't necessarily be eliminated by virtue of divorce. So what I'm finding in the second time around agreements is alimony is not as much an issue as how are we going to maintain everyone going into their next phase and grandchildren and traveling to see grandchildren and all that stuff without an income stream that we can talk about in the future.
And it is so important to discuss all these things because some people get a little offended when you bring up prenup. It seems that it's gotten that, that you think we're planning for a divorce, but in fact, it's not. It really is just establishing just some boundaries and structure to the relationship going forward and how things can be maintained if and when someone passes, or also what if the marriage does not last and it does have to be dissolved for whatever reason. Abby, you have been amazing. You have provided us such deep, knowledgeable, educational information, and I am very, very impressed. And I want to make sure that our viewers know, especially those in New Jersey, how they can get a hold of you and what is the best mechanism. Is it by phone, website, what have you? So would you please share with us how would be best for a potential new client to get a hold of you?
Thank you. And I did enjoy this conversation today. You can find me on my website, jerseycoastfamilylaw.com. It provides a lot of background about me. It provides a lot of mission statement and business plan, really what we intend this firm to look like. I tell everyone, look at the website. That's going to give you insight as to who I am and whether we're going to work well together or not. If you look at the website and you find that, this is someone who I definitely want to work with, you can call us at 732-361-4718. That's our number to direct line in and schedule an appointment so that we can sit down and you can talk to a team member and figure out how we can help you.
And again, that number is 732-361-4718. Abby, thank you so much for being a guest on Legal Talk. It has been a true privilege to have this great conversation. To my viewers, I really hope that you were able to glean, even if you're not in New Jersey and you're elsewhere, glean some of this information, take it in on your own circumstances. As I'm sure Abby will tell you, going through a family law matter does not have to be a vitriolic, nasty fight, though sometimes it ends up being that way. But the most important thing is maintaining what is in the best interest for yourself, for your children, for your family going forward. I am Alina Gonzalez-Dockery. I am your hostess, and I am thrilled that I am your new hostess for Legal Talk. And I look forward to seeing you back here on our next episode, where we will be engaging in more thoughtful conversations with other legal experts throughout the United States. Wishing you all a wonderful day.
This has been a Now Media Networks feature presentation. All rights reserved.
How would you like to go on a 5-star vacation for just $99? We're talking about the quality of a Westgate resort for $99. Not for one night, but for 3 fantastic nights at one of their luxurious destinations across the United States. And you'll even get a free $100 Visa gift card just for making a reservation. We've got some of the choicest destinations that you'll love in the United States that you can choose from for just $99 for a 3-night stay. Take your family, take a special loved one, but get away. Go on vacation with Westgate Resorts. Call now to make a reservation for just $99 and you get a free $100 Visa gift card. Call Westgate right now and book your vacation. Here's the number.
Call 877-930-3491. That's 877-930-3491. Again, 877-930-3491.
If you've turned 65 recently like me, it's important you find a Medicare Advantage plan that gives you the coverage you're looking for. But finding one can be difficult. The best thing I did, and I suggest you do the same, is call a licensed insurance agent and let them walk you through your Medicare Advantage plan options. There are so many benefits you have access to, so make the call now and let the representatives explain everything to you. Our licensed insurance agents can offer you a variety of Medicare Advantage plans. Plus, the call is free, the information is free, and there's no obligation to enroll. We're here to make it easy for you to select a Medicare Advantage plan that may work for your needs. Finding a Medicare Advantage plan can be easy if you do what I did. Make a quick